All right, so we're going to start now. So, for those who come every week, welcome back. For those who are new, welcome. My name is Ani Pomo. I'm a Buddhist nun and the director of Songtsen Gampo Buddhist Center, which is in Lakewood, which is a close suburb of Cleveland. Um, we have regular meditations every Sunday there, but right now we're closed because of the virus, like everyone else. And we have classes online. We're going to be offering more classes online, some seminars online, maybe a retreat online. So if you want to know about all that stuff, you should sign up for the newsletter. So the link to our website, to the newsletter, to make a donation if you can, all of that stuff is below. So let's get started. So, like in all things, hi Sharon. Like in all things Tibetan Buddhist, we want to begin with our bodhicitta motivation. So, bodhicitta means the wish to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So, everything that we do on this path is with that aim in mind. It is with the aim. Our aim is really to serve others ultimately. Of course, we want to work on ourselves. Of course, we want our own happiness and our own peace and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we mostly want to develop ourselves, develop our mind, so that we can be able to help others. So if we are drowning with everybody else, we're not going to be able to help them, right? So we need to get out of that. We need to get onto the shore in order to help others get out of stop drowning, right? So that's what we're trying to do. So please, make that your motivation if you can. If you're not Buddhist, then that's fine. Just try to make the motivation that the time we spent together this morning benefits others as well as yourself. Hi, Kathleen. Excuse me, got to clean my glasses. Got to move this away. Okay. So, the other thing that we want to do is just to turn our minds towards the teachers, starting with the Buddha, who discovered this path and taught this path and attained enlightenment, and then all the enlightened teachers in an unbroken chain from the Buddha down to the present day. Our teachers are Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche and Tugu Pema Wangpa Rinpoche primarily, and they are extraordinary, and we're really fortunate to have them guiding us and helping us. So we just think of them with gratitude and with respect. Okay, so hi Shannon. So we are going to talk for a little bit about karma, which is a subject that really actually takes quite a lot of time. It's a really complicated subject, so I'm not going to be able to go into all the nooks and crannies of this subject, but I can talk a little bit about it to give us a kind of just general idea. Okay. So karma, actually, the word karma really means action, but the way that we think of karma is more cause and effect. Okay. So karma is really considered like almost like a natural law, like not a moral dictate um, or even not even like a reward and a punishment. So this is something that can be a little bit hard for Westerners um, to grok. Does anybody know that word grok? It comes from stranger in a strange land. It means understand. It's actually in the dictionary, Grock, grok. Anyway, it can be hard for Westerners to grasp, to really understand, because we come from a background. Most of us are Judeo-Christian raised in a Judeo-Christian uh, faith or culture. And so we're really kind of raised with this idea of reward and punishment and judgment and guilt and this kind of thing. And karma is not like that, although it can seem like that from the outside. Okay. So the overarching idea of karma is that positive acts of body, speech, and mind. Now, I prefer, and other teachers also prefer, to use the term skillful rather than positive or virtuous or good, because skillful removes that judgmental aspect. Okay. So let's say skillful, which is actually virtuous. Okay. Acts of bodiness for ourselves, and virtuous acts of body, speech, and mind result in suffering. Okay. That's the overarching idea of karma. All right. Now, the results of our acts can happen immediately. They can happen in a few hours, they can happen tomorrow, or they can happen 100 lifetimes down the road. So that's where things start to get kind of complicated. Okay. The idea of karma, the sort of main functioning of karma is what goes up must come down, right? It's not hard. But when you start to inject these other or contemplate these other factors, then it becomes something quite complicated. Okay. So, um, one of the factors that determines the ripening of karma is that the conditions must be there for the karma to ripen. Okay. So let's say the example I normally give is, you know, this life I don't have any children. Okay. So maybe some life in the past, I created the karma to have a very good or a very bad relationship with a child, my child. Okay. But I don't have children. So I can't, that karma cannot, because I don't, the conditions are not there. Okay. But maybe next life, I will have children and then that karma can ripen. You see what I mean? So the condition is not there. So the condition needs to be there. That's something that is a factor that can be why it takes some lifetimes for that karma to ripen. Okay. The other thing that determines how the karma comes to fruition, the weight of the karma. So you have like your intention, so why you did a thing. Okay. Of what you did. All right. So for example, like if you lied, it's less heavy than if you killed, for example. Okay. So if you had a good intention but it resulted in something negative, right, then it's less than if you had a bad intention and it resulted in something negative. And then to whom you did it. Okay. So for example, excuse me. So for example, if you um, if you let's say, I don't know, if you killed an ant by accident, just it's springtime now. Well, supposedly in Cleveland it's been snowing, so it's a little dubious, but it's supposed to be spring. So ants and worms and stuff are going to start coming out. And let's say you're just taking a walk and you accidentally step on an ant and you kill it. Okay, that's the karma of killing, but you did it by accident. So you didn't have the intention to do that. And it's an ant versus killing your parents on purpose with the intention of killing them with the motivation of hatred. Like that's very heavy. Okay. Because you had this negative motivation, because it was extremely negative. Killing is like the worst thing you can do. And to your parents, which is, you know, extremely heavy, right? Because they gave you life and cared for you and all of that. Okay. So to whom? All right. And then how you felt about what you did, or no, if it was successful. So let's say you tried to do something but it wasn't successful. All right. So the karma is less if it wasn't successful. And then how you felt about it after. So let's say you did something and immediate something negative and you immediately regretted it. the karma would be a little bit less. Not that you don't receive the karmic effect of that, but it would be less. Versus rejoicing in that. Oh, it's great. I killed my parents. I'm really happy about that. Right? Okay. Same applies to positive karma. So that's something that's important to realize too. There's negative karma and there's positive karma. All right. There's karma that brings us suffering. There's karma that brings us happiness. So these days, if you look on social media, you see like the pop culture understanding of karma is really skewed. It's really, you know, twisted, right? So it's people see karma as revenge, which it's not. It has nothing to do with revenge. So you see that all the time. People say like, karma's going to get you, karma's going to bite you in the ass. You see this kind of statement on social media. So yes, it will eventually, if people do something negative, they'll receive the karmic result of that. But first of all, we shouldn't wish for that. That's creates negative karma for ourselves, which is really not something we want to be doing, right? And secondly, we shouldn't rejoice, yeah, in someone else's suffering. That's not the point, yeah. If we see, oh, this person has done something negative, and I'm really happy about that, we really don't want to be that person, you know. So, yeah, kind of sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. Anyway, so karma is this overarching law of cause and effect. What goes up must come down. It doesn't have this judgmental thing. So it's not like someone up in the sky with a ledger book, kind of making tick marks. Oh, you did a good thing. Oh, you did a bad thing. I'm going to punish you. I'm going to reward you. Okay. It's just, I compare it to, I usually compare it to the law of gravity. All right. So here, I'll do something easy. So if I hold this bottle cap up in the air and I drop it, right, the law of gravity says it has to fall, right? If I hold it here and I let it go, it has to fall, right? It's not going to fly up into the sky. It's not going to turn into an orange. It's not going to, disappear. It's just going to fall. That's the law of gravity. All right. Simple. What goes up must come down. All right. So there's a few things about that. I don't need to feel guilty that it falls down. I don't need to feel very proud that it falls down. It just falls down. That's the law of gravity. Okay. So the law of karma is kind of the same as that. It's just when we suffer, right? We don't need to think like, I'm a bad person or I was a bad person. And so now I'm suffering. We should just see it as like matter of fact, like in an impersonal way, in a sense. Okay. Um, my stream of consciousness at some point did something negative, and now I have chronic pain. Okay, you know, I'll be more careful not to do negative acts of body, right? Or conversely, positive karma, right? Oh, my stream of consciousness at some point did, incredibly virtuous things. And so now I have a precious human life and the capacity to practice the Dharma and even ordain. I don't need to feel proud about that. Oh, I'm the best. It's just that's what happened. And I'm in this situation. So great. Let's do more good things to create good situations for ourselves. So karma can be something that gives us a real sense of control over our life, which sometimes people feel like they misunderstand karma as fate, right? Karma is not fate. Like we can't change. It's true that we can't change what we did in the past, okay? But we can change how we react to what we did in the past. We can change to how we react to our current situation. All right. And we can change what we do now so that we can positively affect our current situation and our future situation. Okay. In this and future lives. So that brings up another point of karma that if we're really going to understand karma, we have to understand two things that might be a little bit um, not our usual way of thinking, let's say, as Westerners. Okay. One is past and future lives. All right. Because karma doesn't just work in this life, karma works over many lifetimes. That's that's why you see really good people suffering and really bad people in really good situations, with a lot of money, with a lot of power, this kind of thing. Like we might think, well, how does that make sense? How is that just? You know, like I know a couple like that. Like they're so good. These people, they're so kind and so generous and just sweet and good, but they just have bad thing after bad thing after bad thing heaped upon them. That doesn't make sense if you just look at this life. Doesn't make any sense at all. The only way that that makes sense is if you consider previous lives, you know, and that their unskillful karma from the past is ripening in this life. Okay. So we, as I said, we can't control what we did in the past. That's done. All right. But we can control what we do now, and we can learn from the past and as a kind of lesson, like I was referring to chronic pain. Okay. So for the moment and for the past, couple decades, I've had chronic back pain. So okay, so that's something I don't know where that came from karmically. I really don't even know where that came from just physically. I don't know. But I can use that lesson to say, okay, I want to be really careful what I do with my body, because um, physical suffering comes from unskillful acts of the body, like stealing, you know, physical violence, sexual misconduct, this kind of thing. Okay. So that's one thing, right? Karma works over many lifetimes. So that makes it easier to understand. Okay. Like I said, it might ripen in this life, it might not ripen in this life, what we do in this life. Okay. The other thing that we really, really need to understand, which is kind of challenging or can be challenging for Westerners to understand, is that karma is not personal. So this is a little bit tricky. So, in one sense, we need to take it personally in that no one else can experience our karma. We can't fix the karma of anybody else. We can't take on the karma of somebody else. We can't give our karma to somebody else. Okay, we can't purify the karma of somebody else. Um, so in that sense, it's personal, and that is our karma. Okay, it belongs to this particular mind stream. All right, but since there isn't a self, then in one sense there isn't an owner of the karma, if I can put it that way. So then you get into this whole like doctrine of emptiness or non-self, okay? And that becomes a little quite a bit more complicated and more requires more study and discussion than we have time for this morning. But let me try to put it succinctly. So from the time that we sat down this morning to watch this video to now, we've changed tremendously, right? Thoughts, many, many thoughts have run through our head. So our mind has changed. Our body is 20 minutes older. Okay. Cells have changed. Yeah. born, died, replaced. Right? As Tuku Rinpoche says, right, there can't be change in a year if there's not change in a month. There can't be change in a month if there's not change in a week. There can't be change in a week if there's not change in a day, in an hour, in a minute, in a second, in a millisecond. So we're changing every single nanosecond. We're changing. So what are you going to point to that is one thing moving through time, right? So if we have changed and we can't point to one singular thing that is the so-called I, that is the same from 10:30 to 10:50, then how are we going to point to one thing that is the so-called I from 3 lifetimes ago to now, right? So in that sense, we can't really take it personally, and we have to kind of consciously um, raise that in our minds when we start to think about karma, so that we don't get bogged down in um, I did this, I did that. Okay, I am bad, I am great. Okay, because that will really mess with our minds, and that will create uh, a sort of inner judge that is totally unnecessary, and will kind of block our will create an obstacle for us that is we have enough obstacles. We don't need to create more obstacles for ourselves, okay? So just kind of be aware of that. Like it is think of it like a stream. Like we talk about stream of consciousness, okay? So this karma is part of our stream of consciousness. So this is why like I use the example of gravity as a sort of law of nature, right? And karma is like that in a sense. Like it just happens. It's impersonal. There is no judgment. In the same way, there is no mercy, meaning like gravity just works. If you throw a piece of paper out of a 5-story window, the paper falls because of gravity. If a baby falls out a 5-story window, the baby falls because of gravity. Gravity doesn't say, "Oh no, that's a baby," and keeps the baby in the middle of the air. You know what I mean? So karma's the same. There's like no mercy. It's just cause and effect. All right. Everything works by cause and effect. Nature works by cause and effect. Building a house works by cause and effect. The climate works by cause and effect. Space, universe works by cause and effect. Everything works by cause and effect. Why would the one thing, our actions, not work by cause and effect? How does that make sense? Of course, our actions work by cause and effect, right? What else? Our actions are out of the realm of cause and effect, but everything else in the universe works by cause and effect. That doesn't make, at least to me, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So karma is really very, very logical. All right. The fault with my example of gravity is that karma is not an outside force. Okay. Karma is not a natural law in that it's an outside force. So karma exists in our own consciousness, resides in the alaya. It's called the alaya, Alaya, which is the sort of very subtle store of consciousness. And it is that is carried from lifetime to lifetime. Right? So certain things like our subtle consciousness is what goes from one life to the next. But our consciousness is not one solid, permanent entity moving through time. Our consciousness is like a stream, like a river, according to the teachings. All right. So, like a river, it's just, okay. It's not, like that saying, you can't step into the same river twice. It's the same. It's like that. It's connected, right? It's dependent, one on the other, but it's not uh, an identity. If you can say that, if you can say that, I hope this is making sense to you. I hope it's making sense to you. If not, there's books on karma and other Buddhist teachings that you can look at from the Dalai Lama and people who are better at this than I am. Okay. All right. So before we go on to the meditation, you can ask some questions about karma now in the chat if you have questions. We have like 4 minutes. Looking at the chat now. No questions? All right. So we'll get into the meditation. So today we're going to do two forms of meditation. We're going to do mindfulness of breathing practice, which is the first meditation taught by the Buddha. It's called Anapanasati in Sanskrit. And this meditation is really about uh, cultivating awareness in our mind, getting the mind to be in one place, to stay in one place. All right. Normally, we are running all over the place, running into the future, running into the past. We're, you know, all over the place. Maybe we have one foot in the present and the rest of us is running here and there. Okay. So it's important to realize that Buddhism starts from the premise that we are fundamentally that we have what's called Buddha nature. So that's something I think I talked about last week. So that means that we already have in us all the qualities of enlightenment, and awareness is one of those qualities. So we're not introducing something into ourselves that we don't already have. Okay. So we have awareness. All we're doing with this practice is we're coming in contact with that awareness and we're practicing knowing when we're aware and when we're distracted. Okay. And when we realize we're distracted, bringing the mind back to awareness. That's it. It's simple to understand. It's challenging to do. Okay. But it's a very, very, very good practice. All right. This is a foundational practice, a fundamental practice. Without this practice, um, so I really encourage you to do this practice every day if you can, okay? Because this will help you with your life. This will help you with your mind, with your emotions. This will even help you to develop, to practice compassion with others. So it's a very, very useful practice. And you don't have to be Buddhist to do it, and also for the next practice that we're going to do. So it's excellent. So I encourage you to do it every day if possible. So if you are sitting in a chair, then just make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. Ooh, close. Okay. Excuse me. I have to take another drink of water. If you're sitting on the floor, just cross your legs in a way that is comfortable for you. Okay. Then your hand should be either palms down on your knees or palms up in your lap or with your fingers on top of each other and your thumbs touching like that, like you're holding an egg. Okay. Back is straight. That's the main thing. So back of your neck is also straight. So your chin's going to be tucked in a little bit. Arms are relaxed. So you're not holding them in like that. You're not holding them out. Just relax. You might want to just roll your shoulders back to kind of open up your chest. Your mouth is closed but relaxed. Tongue resting on the roof of your mouth. Breathing through the nose. The eyes are open halfway. So if you look straight ahead and then just lower your eyes halfway, that's a good, comfortable, lowered gaze. This will help you to avoid falling asleep avoid falling into a half sleep, which sometimes people miss, and help you to develop awareness all the time and not just when your eyes are closed. It also affects different parts of the brain than when your eyes are closed. So, in our tradition, according to our teachers, it's quite important to meditate with your eyes open. But if you're not comfortable doing that, it's fine. You can meditate with your eyes closed. But over time, we would suggest practicing with your eyes open. Okay. So just settle into that posture. So your body should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining the posture. Breathing through the nose. So just become aware of the breath coming in and out of your nose. That's going to be the focus of your attention. And you're going to so you're not going to follow your thoughts, run after them, jump into a storyline. You're not going to engage them at all, but you're not trying to stop them either. Okay? Just let them come and go like clouds in the sky, keeping your mind and your focus on the breath. Okay? So now begin to count the breaths, counting either every in breath or every out breath, whichever you're more comfortable with, up to 10 breaths. So, what this does is it helps us to realize more quickly when we've gotten distracted. So, if you lose count, just no big deal, come back to the breath. The moment you realize you've lost count, that's your natural awareness arising. So, it's a good thing, okay? Don't put yourself down. That's cool. My natural awareness, the very thing I'm trying to develop. As soon as you realize that, come back to one. If you get to 10, no big deal, come back to one. If you go beyond 10, it's another form of distraction. So as soon as you realize that, bring the mind back, start again at one. Okay? So please begin that now. Your mind should be as relaxed as possible while maintaining awareness of the breath, counting the breaths. It's not a race, it's not a job, just being in one place, being aware of the breath. Relaxing body and mind in the present moment. Nowhere to go, nothing to do except to be here and now. All right. So now we're going to do a practice called Tonglen, which means giving and receiving. In English, it's called the practice of exchange. This practice is to work with our innate compassion, develop our innate compassion. So, the main obstacle to developing compassion is self cherishing. So, that's really about kind of just unconsciously, normally unconsciously, kind of putting ourselves first, just going for the most comfortable seat, the biggest piece of pie, um, you know, you know, cutting people off in traffic, this kind of thing. It doesn't mean we're bad people. It's just kind of we have that habit, of kind of wanting the best for ourselves, feeling the need to protect ourselves, not wanting to be inconvenienced. And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that teaching of Jigme Khyentse Rinpoche. He looked so sort of not exactly sad, but just kind of, I don't know, maybe a little bit sad. And he just looked over everybody and he said, just be willing to be inconvenienced. And I don't know, it just kind of broke my heart. But it's true. Just be willing to be inconvenienced. Just start there, you know. Just be willing to be inconvenienced. Oh, you're a little tired. Okay, talk to somebody even if you're a little tired. Pick up the phone and talk to your depressed friend. You I don't know, a thousand things that we don't do because they're inconvenient for us. Um, n- they're not huge sacrifices, they're just a little inconvenient. So let's just start there. Anyway, so this practice of Tonglan, uh, what we are exchanging is we're taking on the suffering of others and we're offering them our own happiness. So, as I said before, it's not a practice, it's not about martyrdom, it's not about masochism, it's just about kind of turning our typical pattern kind of on its head, upside down. Okay. So, what we're going to do, the subject we're going to use today is someone that we love a great deal. So, there's four subjects we can use: someone we love, someone who is neutral to us, someone that we dislike, and ourselves. So we've been through all four of those in this series already. So we're going back to someone that we love. Okay. So I'm just going to walk you through these four steps and we'll do the practice. Okay. So the first step is just resting the mind. So resting the mind is different than what we just did, which is trying to kind of focus the mind in awareness. This is just letting the mind settle into its natural state without kind of stirring it up with anything. Okay, so we're not trying to concentrate. At the same time, we're not distracted. Okay, so I'm going to ring the gong. So just listen to the sound as long as you can hear it, and then just let your mind settle. Okay. Now imagine in your heart center, which is the middle of your chest, a bright white light like a shining star. And then consider that you're breathing in gray smoke through all the pores of your body. Every particle of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now consider that you're breathing out white light, clean, clean, clear, very bright, through all the pores of your body. Okay, now imagine in front of you someone that you love a great deal. This person can be alive or they can have already passed. Okay, so picture that person in front of you. Go into your heart and feel the love you have for this person. How precious they are to you, how your heart fills up just thinking about them, the many kind of you, how much they love you. Now consider whatever ways they are suffering or did suffer when they were alive, physically, mentally, emotionally. And don't just think about it, but try to really feel like what they were going through, how that feels to them, right? Feel the same, really put yourself in their shoes. What does it feel like to have that kind of anxiety or that kind of illness or depression or addiction, whatever it is they're going through? Feel it yourself. And because you love this person, it becomes something quite easy, to feel compassion and to wish that they would be free from that and to want to take it away from them, even if it means taking it on yourself. Okay? So now imagine that all their suffering, whatever it is, takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. It leaves them and it comes to you, and you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. And every particle of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center until there's not a single particle of smoke left. There's only light. Now you offer this person that you love your own happiness, your own good fortune, and anything at all that they may need to feel better, to be free of suffering, and adding to that the wish that they attain full and complete enlightenment in this very life. And all of that takes the form of white light, clean, clear, very bright, cool. You breathe that out through all the pores of your body. When this and these rays of light touch this person that you love, and when the rays of light touch them, all of their suffering just disappears. And they feel so relieved and happy, at ease. And you see them just really relax and look really happy and joyful. And you feel joyful for being able to do this for them. Now, we're going to do the same for all mother sentient beings. First, imagining them all around us. In front, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon as far as the eye can see. Same thing to the right, as many beings as you can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Behind, as many beings as you can conceive of, stretching all the way to the horizon. And to the left, again, as many beings as you can imagine, all the way to the horizon. Okay? Now you're surrounded by a sea of sentient beings. And the first thing that we want to do is consider how we are all the same in one way. And that is that each one of us wants to be happy without exception. And none of us want to suffer without exception. And yet each of us suffers to one degree or another. And then we want to consider our connection to all of these beings. The The Buddha taught that every single sentient being has, at one point or another, in our countless previous lives, been our kind and loving mother. It's up to us whether we accept that or not. But in any case, we can at least consider our connection to these beings right now. And with this pandemic, we can certainly see that we are all connected, all the world over. Okay. And we can appreciate the fact that there are so many beings involved in just our day to day living. Those who grow our food, who sell our food, our clothing, who built our housing, who keep the roads up, the utilities, our modes of transportation, on and on and on. Tuk Rinpoche likes to talk about that. How we think we're very individual, how we think we're rugged individuals, you know, right? I'm a rugged individualist, I'm American, right? But we couldn't survive a single day without others. This is really true. So we can at least contemplate that and our debt to others. So we consider all these sentient beings. And then we contemplate their suffering, whatever it is, physical, mental, emotional. And then we consider that their suffering takes the form of gray smoke, hot, dark, and heavy. And it leaves them and it comes to you. And with a great deal of love and compassion, you breathe that in through all the pores of your body. Every particle of that smoke dissolves into the white light in your heart center till there's not a single particle left. There's only light. And then you offer all of these beings your own happiness, your own good fortune, along with anything at all that they may need to be happy and free of suffering, and adding to that the wish that they attain full and complete enlightenment in this very life. And all of that takes the form of white light, cool, clean, clear, very bright. And you breathe that out through all the pores of your body, very strong, powerful white light going in all directions from your heart center as far as the eye can see. And when these rays of light touch all these beings, each individually, their suffering completely evaporates and disappears like fog in the morning sun. They breathe a sigh of relief. They look so happy and so relieved to be free of this weight of suffering. And you feel joyful for being able to bring this to them. The visualization all together. Gently bring the awareness back to the breath, allowing the awareness of the breath to bring and keep the mind in the present moment, here and now. Okay. So now I'm going to say the dedication prayer to dedicate the merit so that any kind of positive karma and positive energy that we've accumulated this hour can benefit not only us, but all beings. I'm going to say it once in English and then once in Tibetan. I know that some of you know it yourselves, so please join me. And then we'll have some time for question and answer if you have any questions. By this merit, may all attain omniscience, may defeat the enemy, wrongdoing. from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of cyclic existence, may I free all beings. Sonandi tamche sikpani, tone nivedranam pumche shi, eganachi balo trupai, sibe sole droa droa shu. Okay. So, if you have any questions about what we discussed today or about the meditations we did today, you're welcome to put it in the chat. If not, we'll see you next week or I'll see you in class or whatever. Hold on. Drinking. Anything? Going once, going twice. All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. I will see you when I see you. Okay. Have a good Sunday. Bye bye.